All right, welcome everybody. Really great to see all of you here. We've got, I think, close to 100 people so far in the seminar and more joining. Really excited about today's program. We have 4 fabulous speakers. It's going to be a tremendously powerful use of your time. So I want to get right into it. Our first speaker today is a true presentation skills expert who is ready to share a wealth of knowledge. Patricia Fripp is a Hall of Fame award-winning speaker, world-renowned sales trainer, and an in-demand executive speech coach. For over 30 years, she has been focusing on how professionals from all industries can communicate their ideas more effectively on the stage and off. Today, she is here to teach you how to gain the competitive edge by improving our sales presentations. Please join me in welcoming Patricia Fripp.
Thank you, Michael. I hear the cheers through the internet. Earlier in my speaking career, I was mostly a keynote speaker. And one day in Las Vegas at a national sales meeting, the national sales manager came up and said, "Patricia, I liked your speech. However, I loved how you delivered it. Can you teach our salespeople how to speak that way? Because it takes us a year to be in a position to deliver a 1-hour presentation to a hospital board. It's worth $9 million a year if we make the sale. And we are losing out to our competitors, not because of our price or our offering, because the presentation skills of our competitors is better than ours." Little did I know as I put together her program that she had just given me the secret to always be in demand, no matter what was happening in the economy. Point 1 that has very little to do with what you're about to hear is listen to your customers and clients. They will tell you what they want to buy from you. Now, what absolutely drives me crazy is that companies invest in making sure their sales teams have technical skills and product knowledge, their territory management, their contact management system. However, when it comes to what do you say when you're in front of the prospects, that's when many companies fall short. Because it is really important that your first sales call with a brand new professional and the sales call with a seasoned team member, they are of an equal quality. Then once you come up with the really best way to say, you need repetition and reinforcement to make sure people don't go back into getting bad habits. And then that leads to sales success. I'm sure you'll agree that when it comes to your sales team, without consistency in a message and delivery, and even a process for putting together your presentation, there is no true value. What you will learn and hear about in this session is 1, how do you connect to your prospects? Then, how do you structure the conversation? Because the old way of selling, "Hi, my name's Patricia Fripp. I'm with the ABC company. We've been in business for 20 years. We have this unique methodology. These are who our customers are, and we'd love to do business with you." That does not work. And then how do you tell stories in a way that you take your happy, satisfied customers on your sales calls with you? And then how do you build your credibility with specificity? The number 1 principle in trying to connect and communicate with our prospects and customers is to realize they're much more interested in themselves than they are in us. And one way we can communicate that we have their best interest at heart is with you-focused language. And what I would recommend you do is record one of your sales conversations or presentations. If you have demos that you have on your website, watch them and listen and see if you're taking advantage of the one word advantage, which is you-focused language. Not, I'm going to talk to you about, or what I'd like to demonstrate. No, it's always about you. And I recommend you have a list of you-focused phrases that you can put in your conversation. For example, you can feel confident that based on our 20 years experience, there is no challenge too big that we haven't handled. Or how often have you, and then you pose the question of what the challenge is that your technology or offering can solve. It might interest you to know that our combined experience on the team that will be supporting you is 186 years. And then, in your experience, how often have you, now you might find that your technology breaks down, or again, what you want to do is reinforce their challenge that you're going to solve. When it comes to your sales conversation and presentation, you need to open with impact. Your prospects and audiences in general, we're all stimulation junkies with short attention spans. Get to the point fast. People are busy. If you've got an appointment, make it count. And I don't know how you open your presentations at this point, whether it's one-on-one in a Zoom or in person with a leadership team or a group of decision makers. I want you to think, what would your first line be if after this event, you immediately had a conversation with a hot prospect, you've been trying to get an appointment with them for 2 years. It's going to be one of the biggest clients. What would you say? If I were coaching, I'd say, whatever you're about to say, don't say congratulations. Because working on the principle that they are much more interested in themselves than you. Why not begin by saying congratulations on some area of their business that they are really proud of? For example, congratulations, I noticed your stock price has just gone up 2 points and your major competitor is down 4. Your strategy is working. Or congratulations on the contribution you as a builder have made in our city. Or congratulations, your latest advertising campaign is spectacular. And then after you have delivered your opening, which is about them, say, thank you for the opportunity to discuss how the Fripp presentation skills training might be what you're looking for. Never thank prospects for their time. You are just as busy as they are. And the point is, every other salesperson says, thank you for your time. If you sound the same as everybody else, you have no advantage. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss. Then you might say, John and Mary have been very generous with their time and information. If you've had a couple of champions or their associates who were bringing you up to speed with what they need, make them look good to their bosses. So John and Mary have been very generous with their time and information. And they told me your biggest challenges, your areas of interest, or your greatest opportunities. Now, whatever word they are using, that's how you structure your presentation around what is of interest to them. As I say to many of my clients, does it matter if you haven't told them how long you've been in business, if they want a demo or whatever the next step is? And you know, if you get on a busy executive or a decision maker's calendar, the chances are if they didn't know about you, you wouldn't be there. Now, perhaps it's just a second conversation, and you might say, Brian, in our last conversation, you said your opportunities are, or your interests are, or your challenges are. Again, tying into what happened before. And as you structure your conversation or your presentation, it's around this challenge. And that's when you might say, well, based on our 30 years in business, there's no challenge that you would have that we haven't solved for other clients. For example, you said such and such. That's very much like another client in Cleveland. And what you're doing is then going to tell stories throughout your presentation, which answers their unasked questions. Can you really handle this challenge with companies like mine? And that's what you do with your stories. And what we have to remember is, whenever possible, use their words in your presentation, because prospects do not disagree with themselves. So when you say, Brian, in our last conversation, you highlight these are the areas you would like us to address. Are there any other areas since then you would like to add to our agenda? Be aware of cognitive overload. I am sure, especially if you are in the world of technology, you love your busy, busy slides. If you have a technical offering, you're going to use probably more dense slides. However, what you have to do is take everything off the slide and put it together in a build in a way that it tells the story. Cognitive overload also means when a speaker or a sales professional or a leader gives you too much information. In other words, give them what they need to drive them to the next area. Don't tell your prospects or customers what they can't absorb. That's part of repetition and reinforcement. What you can say is, we are recommending that you take this session. No, once you've got the benefit from this, we do have more to offer. However, we do not want to overwhelm you with the 136 options we have. Now, great stories sell. And when it comes to a sales presentation, this is incredible. I remember one of my friends, a sales manager for the Fairmont Hotel, called and said, "Help, Patricia. As you know, I'm a great salesperson one-on-one. However, I have the opportunity to deliver a 10-minute presentation to a convention committee who's considering coming to San Francisco. And if they do, they're going to stay at the Fairmont Hotel. But I'm really nervous standing up." Now, I won't tell you the rest of the story, which of course he did make the $500,000 sale taking my advice. My point is, with your prospects, I want you to look through your customer list. And we all have good customers that if you ask me for a reference or I asked you for a reference, you would probably have several people come in mind. These are the people you'd say, call such and such. They're probably on your website. You might have letters from them. You have great emails. They're raving about you. This is the person you talk about. And stories shrink time. Now, I am very aware that with many of my clients, they tell me, well, Patricia, the first call, it wasn't with me. It took 3 months along the process before I talked to them. What stories do is shrink time. So you don't take the fact that somebody came to your booth at a trade show, or they took a demo webinar, and the internal salespeople followed up with them. No, just imagine your prospect said help. Now they're a happy customer, but when they said help and they clearly articulated their problem. Now I know they didn't. However, stories shrink time. Stories need to be true, not 100% accurate. So the first part of a bring your satisfied client onto your sales call with you is the help. And in their words, what would they say? And it could be, help. As you know, we are a $2 billion software company with aspirations to be $20 billion. And this is our challenge. Then the next part is the solution. And you can say, John, what we did for the ABC company, who is a similar size, similar challenge to you, was this. Now, the solution can be in your words. And what you are doing is answering the unasked question, which is, if we say yes, what will the process look like? And then the third part of your story formula is success, the happy ever after. And you say, if Brian were here, he would tell you, I would not have believed it possible. We could complete this project, bring it under budget and in less time than they promised. Because when you are using the words of your happy, satisfied customers, they can say, because it's their words, you can say anything. And remember, they're happy. And you can always, if in doubt, say, Brian, I'm telling your story. Is it okay if I say you said this? And they will probably give you even better words. Now, the next way you can build your credibility is by using specific language. Specificity builds credibility, and the world is full of sloppy speakers. Don't be one. And you will not improve what you're not aware of unless you record your conversations and presentations and listen. You don't know what you're doing. The amount of times I hear my clients talk about their amazing technology that costs millions of dollars and saying, our customers need our stuff. Stuff is rubbish and debris, and it needs not be in your language unless you're talking about your turkey at Christmas or Thanksgiving. The question I ask my clients more than any other, if it were not a thing, what would it be? For example, one of my clients, a big technology company, I help all their engineers get ready for their company conferences. Now they're virtual. Next year, they'll be back to being in Paris and London and exciting cities in America, and I can't wait. However, in advance, I coach them. And one brilliant engineer, absolutely magnificent person with great credentials, as part of his presentation, he said, there are two things that people love about. And I said, if they weren't things, what would they be? He said, innovative upgrades. I said, there are billions of people in the world. What people love your innovative upgrades? He said, systems administrators. Can you see the difference in the quality of the communication between two things people love about and two innovative upgrades that systems administrators love? And then, if it's not fruit or vegetables, it's not a bunch. Give me a specific language. Number, is it 6? Is it 10? Is it a dozen? And if you can't weigh it, it's not a ton. You will not get a ton of ideas listening to your full presenters. You might get 2 pages of notes and six actionable ideas. So be specific. If you would like to take advantage, you see fripp.com/handouts. There are special reports on improving your sales presentations. And if you need to email me, pfripp@fripp.com, and I look forward to answering your questions later in the show. Back to you, Michael.
Fantastic. That was really awesome, Patricia. What an amazing gift to all of us and all of our members. We are so grateful for your participation today. And please visit her website. You see it on the screen right now. Check out, and Tiffany will put it in the chat for everyone watching on the YouTube stream. So be sure to visit her, join her mailing list. She's got some great value that she sends out on a regular basis. So be sure to join Patricia Fripp at her website. All right, we're going to bring on our next speaker, who is Falcon Napier, an internationally recognized human development expert and founder of the Institute for Productive Tension. Since starting his career as a professional speaker, trainer, and consultant in the early 1980s, Mr. Napier has developed and presented nearly 3,500 customized programs for organizations coast to coast and around the world. I'm talking about companies like Sony, Bosch, American Express, Detroit Edison, General Motors, State Farm, Bell South, and over 100 programs for IBM alone. Today, he's here to share his signature program called Precision Decisions. So please join me in welcoming Falcon Napier. Welcome, T.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, everybody. As he said, my name is Falcon Napier. My closest friends call me T, and I hope you all will as well. Among the many programs that we've been doing for now almost 40 years is a program we put together for executive decision-making, which we've come to call Precision Decisions. On today's program, I'd like to share with you one, maybe two of the central skills in precision decisions to help all of you become more powerful decision makers in your own lives, whether you're at home or at work or working with friends and family, as the case may be. Now, Precision Decisions has at its heart a 5-step process that enables you to make very high quality decisions very efficiently. But it all begins by you answering the question, what am I trying to decide? And so I want you all to do this as we work our way through that. I need to make a decision about something. I need to make a decision about what. So this all starts with that thought process. I need to make a decision about whatever the case may be. Now, a couple things to know about this program as we work our way into it is that we have always felt that this particular program is one that you all pretty much need to commit to memory. There's not a lot of things that you have to know, but the things that you do need to know need to be portable so that you can use them anytime and every time the occasion arises where you want to make this decision. And so we didn't want to give our students, give these executives a lot of handouts and a lot of visuals, that we said, no, you need to know this. And so I want all of you to kind of work our way through this program. And as you do, think about the logic behind these steps and see if you can commit them to memory by the end of our short little program today. So again, it all goes back to, I need to make a decision about something. Now, once you've stated that, the process begins. Step number one of the process is that you want to do something to explore, define the current situation. So what's really happening right now? You say you need to make a decision about something. Well, describe this something. What's going on? What's happened? What's brought you to the point that you now know, like, I can't keep doing that. I need to do something different. I need to make a decision. And so you want to be able to describe your current situation in concrete, factual sorts of terms. Describe it as it is. Now that's going to establish your starting point. Once you've spent some time exploring what's actually happening, what's really going on right now, the next step is to move on to step number two. What's your desired situation? And the desired situation just answers the question, well, where do I want to go? So the current situation, this is where I'm at. The desired situation, this is where I want to go. And we're going to do a deeper dive into this one. This is the key skill, in fact, of all the steps in the program. This is the one that is actually the most powerful and the most problematic. As we've worked with executives in very large companies and just people who own businesses or just running their own little lives, this is where they tend to really struggle. This is where they tend to stumble in the decision-making process and ultimately in their success at making whatever kinds of changes they really wanted to make in their life. And so I want you all to kind of really do a deeper dive with me about the desired situation. Well, bottom line, the desired situation describes where do we want to go. Now think about this. If you know where you're at, that was the current situation, and you know where you want to go, that's the desired situation. The question comes up, why are you not already there? Now soak in that for just a second. You know where you're at, you know where you want to go. Why are you not already there? Now, the answer to this question ends up becoming the real focus of a successful decision being made. So the answer to this question is, the reason why you are not where you want to go is because there is some obstacle or set of obstacles, real or imagined, that are in your way. And until you can describe and deal with whatever these obstacles are, what's the likelihood of you reaching your desired outcome? Well, the answer is it's not very good at all. Again, now these are obstacles. Could be one, could be a bunch, could be something that is very real, very concrete, something that actually has to be dealt with. But more often than not, they tend to be obstacles of the mind, things in your belief system, etc., that are simply interfering with you doing the right thing in the right time to move forward. So these are the obstacles. We have to identify these obstacles before we start to put together any sort of solution, any sort of remedy, making a decision about what are we going to do. Before we can do that, we have to make sure that we've identified these obstacles. Because if we don't identify the obstacles, but we go ahead and put together a plan on how we're going to get to that goal, you may very well find yourself confronted with these obstacles further down the road. Now, the obstacles, particularly those that are real, are going to show themselves sooner or later. And so you got to ask yourself, if I know I'm going to encounter this obstacle as I go about working on my solution, well, when should I look at that? When should I look at that? Should I look at that when it suddenly appears and now it disrupts and interferes and compromises and complicates whatever I'm trying to do? Or am I better off to just say, before I put together any kind of a solution, I want to stop for a minute and ask myself, what are these obstacles that I may encounter as I go about working my way from where I am to where I want to go? These are the obstacles, and we may get into that in a bit more detail. So again, we start off with, where am I at right now? That's the current situation. Where do I want to go? That's the desired situation. What's in my way? Those are the obstacles. And once I've done that, I can now move on to the fourth step, and that is putting together solutions. Now, what makes the solution powerful is not that the solution helps you reach your goal. The power is that the solution helps you to overcome the obstacles. If there were no obstacles, then naturally you should be reaching your goal automatically, if certainly not more easily. And so the real point of coming up with a solution, a strategy, is to one way or another deal with these obstacles so that the desired situation can come my way without any further restrictions, or certainly with me having a little bit more control over what it is I want to do. After all that is said and done, again, you've had your current situation, your desired situation, you've looked at and acknowledge the obstacles, and you've put together a solution to deal with those obstacles so you can reach your outcome. Then what you do is you decide whether or not you're ready to make a commitment to that action. Now, one thing we've worked with our clients on time and time and time again is how they will spend an inordinate amount of time and an inordinate amount of money gathering all these people together to have these big strategic planning sessions where they're looking at where they are and where they want to go and figuring out how they're going to get there. And then at the end of it, no one's really ready to make any sort of commitment to actually plugging those solutions into place and doing it. And again, you can apply this to your personal life. How many of you are right now dealing with a situation where you know where you're at right now? You know where you're trying to go. You know what's in your way, and you have even developed a very clear plan to help you overcome those obstacles to get to your desired situation. But truth be told, you have not moved forward. So it's all logically figured out, but for whatever reason, you have not committed to following through and doing whatever needs to be done. Now, certainly inside of each of these 5 steps, there's a lot more detail that we can flesh out, but our program for today only allows for so much time. And so what I want to do is choose one of these steps and do a deep dive into how to do it more effectively. And ultimately, that's going to get back to step number 2, defining the desired situation. Now, usually when people are defining the desired situation, talking about their goal and applying whatever they've learned about goal setting, they end up with something that ends up being a very small subset of the full definition of the desired outcome they want to go for. And so what we try to encourage our clients to do is to look at that desired outcome from 4 different vantage points. And again, these are things we want you to kind of lock in so that you can do this whenever you are thinking about a goal, whenever you're thinking about doing anything differently in any area of your life. We want you to stop and ask yourself 4 questions. Question number 1, what do I hope to gain as a result of doing whatever it is that needs to be done? So again, these are parts of the desired situation. So in part, there are things I hope to gain as a result of whatever. And we'll work through an example after I give you guys the highlights here. So what do I hope to gain? Now, a lot of goal setting seems to stop there. People make a big laundry list of all the things they'd like to gain and grow and all the things they'd like to add and expand on and all that. And they think really good goal setting has actually occurred. But there are 3 other vantage points to look at. The next one is, what do I hope to lose as a result of whatever? So change involves bringing new things in, but letting old things go. And so sometimes the reason why we need to make a decision is not because we're trying to expand or gain or grow. We are instead trying to get rid of something that no longer works for us, no longer serves us well. So as a result of making this change, what do you hope to shed? What do you hope is no longer part of your reality? What do you want to get rid of? So again, what do I want to gain? And what do I want to lose as a result of making whatever this change happens to be? Now, right there, if we could just get people to do those 2 things, they'd end up having a much more clearly defined desired outcome. And that just makes it a little bit easier for them to, in turn, describe what could stop them from getting the things they want and getting rid of the things they want to get rid of. And that will certainly help them as they work their way through this decision process. But there are 2 more vantage points that are actually even more important to look at when it comes to predicting the success they're going to have in making that decision, taking the right action, and realizing whatever the desired outcome happens to be. These are 2 questions that could very well reveal the deal breakers in the entire thought process around this change occurring. So the third question you want to ask and answer is, what do you not want to gain as a result of making this change? So again, whenever we are making a change in any of our life, decisions are all leading to change. There are things, yeah, we do want to gain this stuff that we want to gain, and we do want to get rid of this stuff that we want to get rid of. But you know what? I don't want to gain this, and this. So yeah, I want that, but I don't want to end up with this. And we'll play again with this as we work our way through this. And then the fourth question, which is also where you could find a deal breaker, is what do I not want to lose as a result of making whatever this change happens to be? So yeah, I know what I want to gain and I know what I want to lose. And I don't want to gain this stuff, but I also don't want to lose this stuff. These 4 vantage points allow you to create a comprehensive understanding of whatever that desired outcome needs to look like and feel like, what it has to bring to you, what it has to take away, what it isn't allowed to bring you, and what it isn't allowed to take from you. When we are applying this perhaps in a sales sort of a situation, I can tell you that the reason why sales can so often be a struggle for people is not because they aren't convinced that the product, program, or solution that you're bringing to them won't help them gain what they want to gain, and or won't help them to get rid of what they want to get rid of. But then they start looking at the aspects of this change, the aspects of this purchase that are going to add things to their reality that they do not want, or take away from them things that are part of their reality that they don't want to lose. That's where the deal falls apart. And so before we start to look at any kind of solutions, before we start to move anything forward in this decision-making process, it's vitally important that you stop for a moment and you ask and answer those 4 questions. What do I hope to gain? What do I hope to lose? What do I not want to gain? And what do I not want to lose? So let's do a little example of this one so you can see how it might all come together. And again, we encourage you to apply this to your personal life at the earliest possible opportunity. Your days are filled with decisions that need to be made. Name that decision and then ask yourself, what do you hope to gain? Lose, not gain, not lose. So let's take a look at this. So let's say that the example is that you need to hire someone, or you're thinking about hiring somebody to help you with your social media presence. Now, I put together a few little ideas just to kind of get the thing going. But as I do this, I want you guys to actually answer these questions as we work our way through it, as if this was the question you were trying to answer. So the decision that needs to be made is hiring someone to handle your social media. Well, what do you hope to gain? Well, a few things I wrote down is, well, I'd like better results from our social media efforts, and hopefully that will translate into more revenue, more clients, more something. So I'd like to know that the results are something that's tangible. That's something I'd love to gain, more results, more results. Another thing I'd like to gain is a stronger social media kind of expertise of someone that knows a lot more about social media than I do. So I'd like to be able to bring someone on board one way or another who's really an expert in this area to make up for whatever deficiencies are within myself or on the team itself. So I want to gain that expertise on my team. And the other thing is that I'd like to gain a stronger social media presence that I can really be proud of. Now, those are just 3 of perhaps 3 dozen things that someone might hope to gain as a result of putting somebody in charge of their social media presence and activities. But there's also a bunch of things I'd like to lose. So some of the reasons why I may very well be thinking about hiring this individual is because I have this feeling that I'm missing out on opportunities that social media could bring me. I don't really know enough to know that what those opportunities may be, but I just kind of know from everything I've heard that I could very well be losing opportunities that I'd love to have. And so I'd like to get rid of this feeling that I have that I'm missing out on whatever it is that social media could bring me. I also feel like I've got this proverbial sword of Damocles dangling over my head. And unless I do something and do something sooner rather than later, this sword is going to fall and everything that I've got going on is just going to crumble and fall apart. I don't want to be a has-been. I want to get rid of this thing dangling over my head that feels like it's a threat that hasn't really happened yet, but I suspect will. And also, I'd like to lose the responsibility of this workload that I'm just not able to handle. I don't know anything about social media. I don't know. But it's on my shoulders and it's a workload and I'm fumbling my way through it. I'd like to get rid of that responsibility for that workload. Now, again, these are just three of what could be dozens of things people would want to get rid of, people would like to lose as a result of making this decision, hiring the social media sort of expert. So again, hopefully you guys are seeing there are things people want to gain, and there are things that people would be more than happy to lose as a result of doing this, making this decision. The other two, though, are where the deal breakers might come into play. So what do I not want to gain when it comes to hiring this expert for my social media sort of thing? Well, I don't want to gain a whole lot of responsibility to manage somebody who knows more than I do about what I'm hiring them to do. So I don't want another person I need to be managing and another person I need to be supervising, etc. I don't want to gain the expense of paying for someone to work full-time on a task that may not need that level of focus. I don't know the scope of all of it, but I know that I don't want to gain a lot of expense in all that. On the same thing, I don't want to gain a lot of secondary costs that could be involved because this expert might say, well, we need to have this particular app that's built into our website, or we need to have this service is something we're adding, and these things have costs associated with them. So I don't want to gain that either. I also don't want to gain the burden of having to come up with whatever content this social media person says they need in order to go out there and have a presence. So they need little articles to be written, or they need little blurbs, they need press releases, they need all this sort of stuff that I may not have, and I may not feel comfortable having to come up with on an ongoing sort of basis. And the last one that I put on my little list here is I don't want to have a whole lot of arguments with somebody about how I envision my company moving forward. I don't want to hire somebody who wants to change the essence of what we've built and who I am and what I'm all about. So I don't want to gain the arguments. I don't want to gain the expenses. I don't want to gain the whatever. Now, again, there could be a lot more than that. But the last one we'll talk about is, what do I not want to lose? Well, what I don't want to lose is some obvious stuff. I don't want to lose a bunch of money. I don't want to lose a bunch of time. I don't want to lose a bunch of energy. And probably more than anything else, I don't want to lose the image that my company enjoys because of what we've been able to do for all these many years, bringing us up to this particular point. Now, again, I'm giving you all these as examples to illustrate what happens at each one of these vantage points. So you can see that these vantage points, looking at each one of them and not just one or two, can actually reveal where there are problems that may be the deal breakers. You might, as we've worked our way through this, thought to yourself, well, he doesn't need to hire somebody. He needs to engage the services of an external third-party consultant, service provider, whatever, and work at all that, because then he doesn't really have to manage or whatever. So working our way through these four vantage points kind of points us in the direction of different options we might want to look at, and we can look at their relative merits. Or it might expose an absolute deal breaker, because how many of you are thinking or thought, look, it's going to cost you money to have this service. So you're going to have to make an investment in that person, in whatever those apps or service support costs might end up being. You're going to need to do that. And your online image may be different than what your offline image is. So we'd like them to go together, but you might need to release a little bit of that control over whatever you have on that. So hopefully in this, you've been able to hear those could be some real deal breakers that need to be looked at and factored into as we work our way into this. And so now again, obviously, as you go about making decisions for yourselves or for your business, we want you to remember those four questions to ask yourself. What do I hope to gain? What do I hope to lose? What do I not want to gain? And what do I not want to lose? Now, the last thing I'd like to leave you with is how you can actually use this technique, not only as a way to help yourself make better decisions, but to help yourself guide other people in your life more effectively. So this could also be used for how you're dealing with kids that are trying to make decisions, or friends and family members who are trying to make decisions. So instead of you asking and answering for yourself these questions, start asking them. So let's say you're working with one of your teenagers, and they go like, I need to decide about what school I want to go to. Well, what do you hope to gain as a result of the choice? What do you really want most when it comes to the choice you make? What do you want to walk away from? What do you want to get rid of? What do you hope to gain? What do you not want to gain? And what do you not want to lose? It's interesting that by getting in the habit of asking people these questions, instead of just giving them your advice or just giving them the bottom line, what you end up doing is helping them to develop into stronger decision makers themselves and helping them view you as someone who is a real valuable asset to them as they went about making decisions in their own lives. So with that, I'll pass it back to Michael. Thanks so much, everyone.
All right. Thank you, T. That was absolutely fabulous. What a great refresher. Now, everyone who's on, I've taken this class before. I've gone deep into the master stream, which is a whole sales training process that T teaches, which integrates with the change grid. It's all very, very fascinating. And I would urge you to visit masterstream.com to learn more about what T is doing and his work. And T, is there a mailing list they can join or something?
Well, absolutely. In fact, what we've just released is our new website, changeworksystem.com. It's a new way for us to deliver all of the intellectual property we've put together over all these years in a single source. And so they'll find MasterStream there. They'll find a mailing list they can sign up for and a lot of other great things. So changeworksystem.com is where I'd point them to.
Yeah, Tiffany just posted that on the live chat. So be sure to copy and paste that into a browser window, visit his site, join his list, and tap into the amazing wealth of knowledge that T. Falcon Napier has to share. Again, thank you so much for joining us, T.
Thanks so much, Michael.
All right. Our next speaker. All right, up next, our next speaker is Leigh Ann Hello, and she is an entrepreneur, podcast host, speaker, and creator of the Mastermind Experiment. Today, she's going to teach us how to achieve all of our life's goals without missing out on our life in the process. Here to present the Mastermind Experiment, please join me in welcoming Leigh Ann Hello. Welcome, Leigh Ann. Leigh Ann, you're muted.
Oh, goodness. I'm so sorry.
Oh, there she is. Leigh Ann, welcome.
Thank you so much, Michael. I love the Yes Network. Thank you so much for everything that you do, Michael, all the incredible speakers that you have brought to us throughout the years. And now for me to be part of this roster, I thank you so much. And I want to thank you for sharing your valuable time with us today. Today, this talk is going to be centered around the idea of how we can achieve our life's goals while being the love we want to see in the world, and without missing out on our life in the process. Now, if you've ever heard me speak before, you know that I like to start every talk with a hug. And today, I have another request for you. I really want you to be engaged for the next 20 or so minutes with me. Because see, this moment right here, this is your life. It's our life. So let's live life intentionally. Let's get engaged. Put all of your comments and questions in the chat so then we can discuss those. And please allow yourself to get curious. Now, I'm going to begin by saying I probably won't be sharing a lot of new material with you, but what will be new is how you can take it all in. Instead of confirming, oh, yep, I've heard all of that before, I challenge you to look at it with an inquisitive mind. Look for how you can apply these concepts to your life today. Now, I'm hoping you've already been taking notes because there has been a lot of gold shared today, But if you haven't, please grab a pen and a paper now. And I'm going to share a quick tip with you from a guy, Jim Quick. He's a brain coach. And this applies whenever you're taking notes. So now he suggests that you split your page in the middle with a line. And what I do is if I'm writing in a book, I open it up and let the spine be the line. And what he suggests is that you take your notes on the left, so the information you hear, you read, or you learn, and then you make your notes on the right. This would be the inspirations, the ideas, the aha moments, things that come up as a result of what you were learning. This will help when you go back to review your notes, which I recommend you do tomorrow. And the notes that you made on the right side, those will trigger back the enthusiasm that you had while you were listening to the speaker or reading the book. It will also make it more actionable for you. And after all, that's what life is all about. It's all about the actions that we take or don't take. Now, let's get back to that hug because it really feels odd for me to have started this conversation without one. So if you can take both your hands, put them on opposite shoulders and squeeze, and I want you to give yourself a great big smile. There we go. Okay. So now the smiling part is really important because there's an idea in psychology called the facial feedback hypothesis. And what this suggests is that our facial movements can directly influence our emotional state and our mood. So smiling can actually make us happier. And it's been found that we can actually learn better when we're in a happier and more open state. So you can consider that was a big hug from me to you. And now we can officially begin in the right state of mind. Now, again, what I'm going to be talking about today is how we can achieve all of our life's goals without missing out on life in the process and while being the love you want to see in the world. Now, this is all coming from a recovering workaholic. It wasn't uncommon for me to work until 3 or 4 in the morning and then start back at it at 7 a.m. If I pulled a true all-nighter, you know those moments that you just don't get a second of sleep? I felt like that was success, like I was really making something of myself. But it wasn't until I completely burned out, and not just mentally, but physically, did I realize that I had to do something different. So I tried the complete opposite, all or nothing. I went through a period where I tried to reject the entire concept of hustling. I tried to just stop the whole thing about being a goal achiever, and I was trying to convince myself that life was too short and all I needed to do was live my life. Well, I did that and it was nice and I was still happy, but I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't light up the way that I did when I was setting and accomplishing goals in my life. So I really had to figure out how I could strike that balance. Now, I want to first clarify what I mean when I say balance. Some people think of work-life balance as a 50-50 split. They think it needs to be equal time, equal effort to both sides. They think it's something that has to be consistent with that split every single day. And that's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion, because nobody can keep that up long term. The problem is that most people look at the word balance as a noun, so to describe something. But this is life we're talking about. So I like to look at balance as a verb, which means and refers to action. So by definition, balance as a verb is to keep or put something in a steady position so it does not fall. Well, this gives us so much more grace. To me, this now means being aware of everything you hold important and giving each area the attention and the action it needs when it needs it so it does not fall. So this might look like spending your night with your significant other on a date night, appreciating one another, but then another night working late and trying to finish up that project. It might look like taking a longer lunch at work one day, and then the next day you might work through lunch. The frustration, the overwhelm, the burnout, all of it comes when we create unrealistic expectations for ourselves based on other people's priorities, and then attaching our value and our worth to whether or not we meet these expectations. And then when we're functioning from a place of frustration, overwhelm, and burnout, it is very difficult, if not impossible, to also be the love we want to see in the world. So the question becomes, how do we know what to give our attention to and take action on? And this is where the awareness of your priorities, setting your intention and setting your goals, following through, and having accountability all come into play. Now, if you're looking to get your notes and you want to take your notes, here are the 4 steps that you can put down. 1, get clear on your priorities and capitalize your, because that's the nuance that most people disregard. Number 2, set your intention to live into your life's goal. Number 3, set goals, take next step action, and follow through. And number 4, create accountability and celebration along the way. And I'll explain that more. For right now, let's look at how each of these 4 steps help us build that balance that we're all craving. So now, step 1, get clear on your priorities. The first step is extremely important and often overlooked. I know that I still struggle sometimes with staying committed to my priorities. Life happens, responsibilities are there, people need us, and all of that is fine. But even with our responsibilities, they don't need to be your priorities. As you might have guessed with our balanced conversation, I love looking at words and the actual definitions for the words that we choose to use in our life. So if we look at the definition of priority, that means a thing that is regarded as more important than another. The other definition that we need to look at is selfish. Many of us have been taught that it's selfish to put ourselves before others. But the actual definition of selfish is lacking consideration for others, concerned chiefly with one's own personal profit or pleasure. So this means that putting your priorities or our priorities in front of others while still being considerate of others is not selfish. And here's what happens a lot of the time, guys. We say that our responsibilities to others, whether that's our spouse, our kids, our employer, whoever it may be, we say that those are our priorities. So then we hold those more important than another. And usually that other is, you guessed it, ourselves. It's our health. It's our happiness. Then we get to a point in our life where we ask the question, what are we doing? For some of us, it might be in our 30s when we have a meltdown. Others, it might be in our 40s or our 50s when we lose a job in our career that we've sacrificed our health and our happiness for. And then others, it might be later in life, in our 60s or our 70s, when our kids are gone and their lives are finally settled. And then we're left thinking, well, what's my priority now? What do I hold most important? So you might be at one of those crossroads right now, and you're listening to this at the perfect time. So that would be pretty cool. But if you're not relating to one of these scenarios right now, first of all, congratulations. But second of all, wouldn't it make sense right now for you to step back and become aware of what is most important to you now? So you may never have really taken the time to ask yourself this question. So I'm giving you permission right now to close your eyes and ask yourself, what do I want? What do I want my life to look like? And more importantly, how do I want to feel? Now, closing your eyes there was an important step, so please don't ignore it. It helps us remove all the stimuli and the triggers around us so we can look inside, because that's where all of our answers lie. This would actually be a great homework exercise for you to do when you're reviewing your notes tomorrow. Once we get clear on our priorities, we can start shaping our life's goals around those rather than just around our responsibilities for others. Now, don't get me wrong, you're still going to perform your responsibilities for others because being in service and in community with others are some of our basic human needs. But now your focus is going to be on your priorities, making you happier in life and allowing you to bring that joy into those responsibilities. So now let's go over to step 2. Step 2 was set your intention to live into your life's goal. Now there's a trick here. It's not good enough for you just to say, I intend to live into my new vision. In order for us to set an intention that is powerful enough for our mind to figure out ways to fulfill that vision, we need to do a couple of things. We need to A, be able to clearly visualize what this future looks and feels like. We need to believe that it's possible and believe that we can achieve this success. C, we need to create enough fire inside of us that it'll pull us toward that vision, even on our lowest days. So now a great starting off point here is to sit quietly and take some time. Now, most of us don't feel like we have extra time, but you know that you could find it if it was urgent. And this is urgent. Your life is waiting for you. So find the time and write down. Don't just think about it. I want you to write down a detailed description of what your new life will look and feel like. If you aren't getting fired up as you do this, if you're not happy and you're excited, then this isn't your vision. This isn't what you're meant to live. This is either what someone else has told you that you should be living, or it's an outdated vision that you once wanted, but now you've outgrown, which is amazing. But now you'll have to go back to step one and get clear on what your priorities are now. Now, really getting honest with yourself about why these priorities are important to you is critical. You want to keep drilling down until you can't imagine doing anything else. Once you get to that place, that's your life's goal. That is what will drive you to live life to its fullest. And that is the difference between hustling for someone else and living for yourself. Now, this isn't easy, and this can't be accomplished in a 2-minute exercise, but I promise it's absolutely worth it. So now let's go over to step 3, setting goals, take next step action, and follow through. So once we've established that life goal, that big vision, you've got to take that and break it down into smaller, more manageable and actionable goals. The idea here is to create a path to freedom, a path to happiness, a path to whatever that feeling was that you were looking to achieve. Ideally, you want to think in terms of what you would have to accomplish in the next year, so the next 12 months, to move yourself into that direction. You then will want to break it down into 6 months, and then you can figure out what your month goal is after that. The cool thing is the feeling that you're after is possible to feel right now if you choose to. And if you were committed in the first 2 steps, you probably are feeling those feelings. But feelings alone won't create that new life. You need to follow through and take the actions necessary. One excuse that I hear all the time is, but I don't know how to get there. I don't know the steps that I have to take to create that grand vision. And the exciting news is this: you don't need to know how to get there. You don't even need to know all or most of the steps. You just need to know what your next step is going to be and follow through on that. Then you take action on the next step and follow through on that. It sounds oversimplified, I know, but it's fascinating what happens when you commit to this strategy. The follow through is the key here. Don't judge yourself. Don't talk yourself out of what the next step is. It's just to become acutely aware of what your next step is and then to be decisive about following through on that. Your awareness, confidence, and your decisiveness will continue to strengthen as you take consistent action and become more clear about where you're headed. You'll find that you're meeting the right people, you're reading the right books, you're listening to the right podcasts, and you're making the right decisions. Sure, you'll stumble, you'll falter. One step might not be ideal, but you'll be nimble and you'll adjust according to the new lesson and the new information that so-called failure provided. Everything will happen much faster than you thought possible. And what happens is your brain becomes wired to find these opportunities and find these resources that match your most powerful vision and intent. Now, just like when you buy a new car or even just learn a new word, all of a sudden you see that car or you hear that new word everywhere. It's literally the way your brain works. It has a system. It's called the reticular activating system, and it's dedicated to this. We just need to start using it to our advantage. Now, I'm developing an entire program that helps us work through the process of discovering what your priorities are and what the life goals and the short-term goals will be that will come from that, and diving into why these are a must for you. But right now, just starting to think of all of this in terms of your own happiness is paramount. Because guess what? When we're happy, we share that happiness with the world around us. And in those moments, the people around us are happy too. And since everyone is ultimately looking to feel good, then choosing our happiness isn't selfish. If anything, it's selfless. So now let's head to step 4. Create accountability and celebration along the way. Accountability is vital. Now, some people can create accountability with themselves and live in integrity with themselves. The problem for most of us is that we've lied to ourselves so much over the years, if not decades, that it's almost become routine. So our word now means almost nothing to us. It means something to other people, and we will keep our word for others, but not so much for ourselves. We hit snooze instead of getting up when we intended to. We eat the junk food, even though we said we were going to be healthy. We skip the workout, even though today was supposed to be a run day. We let ourselves off the hook all the time, and yet somehow we're baffled that we're having a hard time committing to achieving our goals. Now, a great way to have accountability in our life is to create a mastermind. And this concept was coined in 1925, almost a century ago, by Napoleon Hill. And if you haven't read his books, The Law of Success and Think and Grow Rich, please do yourself a favor and check those out. He defined the mastermind as the coordination of knowledge and effort of 2 or more people who work toward a definite purpose in the spirit of harmony. And this is huge for accountability. And if you don't have people in your life that you can count on to meet with at least once a week to make sure that you're staying on track, it would be a great idea for you to join a mastermind group. And you don't only want to check in to make sure that you're doing what needs to get done each week, but you also want to be celebrating the little wins that you achieve each week. The positive reinforcement gives evidence to your brain that what you're doing is worth it. Even if you haven't achieved your current goal, the journey is successful. And here's the big takeaway. This is your life. Just like I said in the beginning, right now, this moment is your life. So don't let it pass you by. We need to start realizing that we can live the life we want now and not wait for some future moment. We need to live into the life that makes us happy and brings us joy, because then in turn, we'll spread the love, that joy, and that happiness with the world around us. Now, I know that this has been a lot to take in, so I do want to thank you for listening to me. And for those of you that were engaged and curious, thank you and congratulations. Now let's overview what we talked about. I shared extra tips and tricks along the way, but mainly we talked about the 4 steps to achieve our life's goals without missing out on our life in the process and being the love that we want to see in the world. And those were, and feel free to recite them with me if you remember them. 1, get clear on your priorities. 2, set your powerful intention to live into your life's goals now. 3, set smaller goals, take next step action, and follow through. And 4, create accountability and celebration along the way. Now, with any motivational speech, it's always nice to think, okay, now that's the solution. That's the golden ticket to a wonderful life. But the truth of the matter is, life is dynamic. It's constantly changing. And as we grow, so will our goals and our vision of what's possible for us. And that's what makes life so exciting. So I really hope that you take these 4 steps and apply them to see how they can work magic in your life today. But please don't stop there. Start there, and then keep focused on creating the life that you were meant to live. Now let's quickly end with one quick hug. You can take both of your hands, put them on your shoulders and squeeze, give yourself a big smile, and now let's go live into our current life's goals right now. Thank you so much. Back to you, Michael.
All right. Thank you, Leigh Ann. Really great concepts and great ideas. That was fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us. And everyone, just so you know, we're going to have all the speakers come back at the end to do a Q&A. So be sure to come up any questions you think that you want to ask, whether it's Patricia Fripp or Falcon Napier or Leigh Ann Hello or our next speaker. Start jotting them down. You can even send them right now in the chat window on YouTube, and we'll add them to our list too. That we'll start that shortly after our next speaker. Speaking of our next speaker is Kimberly Kassner. She's founder of Empower Mind and author of You're a Genius and I Can Prove It. Prior to becoming a professional speaker, trainer, and coach, she worked with a Fortune 40 company as a top performer. And what's interesting is that she would typically work less than 40 hours a week while her counterparts were working 60 to 70 hours. She accomplished this by creating her own personalized learning system and by mastering the corporate game. After 7 years, she left the corporate arena to share this process and touch the lives of others. Here today to share her program called Breaking Through Belief Barriers, please join me in welcoming Kimberly Kassner. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you, Michael. What a good introduction. I appreciate it. So wonderful to see your smiling, energetic face again after this time we've been apart. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you. So are you guys ready to bust through some belief barriers? Yeah. So, so often we're brought up in a family or a community or a lifestyle that has a lot of beliefs that aren't really serving us anymore, right? They're beliefs that put us into a box. And so for the next 20 minutes, I want you to just explode the box. Just be present with me and keep your mind open, because I'm going to have you experience something you never thought you could in just a few minutes. I'm sure nobody thinks they can do this. And then I'm also going to tell some stories that hopefully will give you a new lens to see from. It's different than your current belief system. You know how people say we want to get everybody on the right bus, the company? Yeah, we've heard that. And then they want to get you in the right seat, the right position. Well, I want to take that a step further today. Let's not only get you in the right seat with purpose, with who you are, because purpose really isn't about what you do, it's about who you are, and maximize that seat. How do we do that? By letting go of beliefs that limit us. Okay, so the first one I want to start with is the belief that asking for help is a weakness. Anybody out there have a difficult time asking for help? Don't lie. No, don't know. You do. And asking for help is perceived as a weakness. So we think of it as through that lens of weakness. I got to take care of myself. I've got to be strong. I can't, ask for support from other people. So I've learned this a gazillion times through the years, and especially because I was a giver and I went through a difficult time. I had 7 close deaths in 8 years in my life. And my husband has progressive multiple sclerosis. And I had to keep reframing and keep looking through a different lens all the time to stay happy, to stay connected to my purpose, to my joy. And so I really had to learn how to receive. And this is what I learned about it. So I'm going to tell you these stories. When I worked with engineers for the first time, if you know engineers, they are a special breed. My father-in-law actually was a chemical engineer, and he invented the Pringle potato chip. That's just a little side fun thing. And he was so methodical and would do things step by step, and he was such a problem solver. Well, when I went in to this corporate group of engineers to speak, I didn't understand engineers very well then. And when I was teaching this one man how to learn the specs, I was teaching them all how to learn and memorize their specs very quickly. They had like 100 they had to learn. I said, well, we got about 10 minutes left. And I said, I can teach you how to remember the rest of your spec. I said, in that 10 minutes, I said, because I know how you learn. I just need you to ask me for help. I said, because if you can, not only will it help you in the next 10 minutes, but for every other thing you ever have to learn, you're going to know how to do it. He put his head down and he just could not do it. And the HR woman's like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. And instead of being in a judgment, I was thinking, what am I missing? I'm not meeting him where he is. So the next workshop I gave for engineers, I got it. Because I'd spent the day with them and I got to know them and I understood where they were coming from. So I said, how many of you here would like to get a problem solved in 20 minutes versus 4 hours? Well, of course, everybody's hand goes 20 minutes, 20 minutes. Yes. Okay. So if you were at a point in that problem, would you go to the cubicle next door or pick up the phone and ask somebody that you know had been through that before for that key, that issue, so that you could move on and get it done quickly and effectively? And they looked at me like you're in the headlights, right? And I said, you are our engineers. You are our problem solvers. You're some of the greatest minds we have on the planet that invent and together things and create things. You're it. So your belief growing up is you've got to do it on your own. And you are powerful and strong as a problem solver only if you do it on your own. You have to. You can't work as a team in figuring something out as much as you've got to figure it out. Okay. So they're all kind of, okay. And I said, so how many of you here use calculators and computers? Everyone's hand went up. I said, and how many of you invented calculators or computers? Nobody. I said, so they're just tools, right? So other people in your life are also tools. And isn't the real genius being able to utilize every single tool available to you so you can get more done in less time with better results? Make your boss happy, make yourself happy, move on to a different project. By even using people and colleagues as that tool, they were just like astounded. It was like just a shift in the lens of their belief system. Now I'm going to go to something a little more personal. I find this for men and women, but women seem to be really incredible givers. It's not that they can receive so much better than men. It's just that they are more givers. Okay. So I've got this friend who's very well off, very strong emotionally, has a great family, and she just can't receive. She loves to give, but she can't receive. And so I wanted to change her lens. And I said, how do you feel? And I want all of you to think of this in your lives. How do you feel when you give something to somebody else and you impact their life, or you transform it, or you help them get through a tough time, or you just bring joy to them? How does that make you feel? Whoa. Well, she said, amazing, incredible. It's the best feeling ever. And I said, and that's what you're depriving all your friends of. She looked at me, I said, that's the best feeling ever. But when you don't allow other people to give to you, especially the people that love you and love you so much because you give so much, you want to feel that feeling back with you. And when you won't receive from them, you stop that. A whole new lens, huh? Now we've got so much divisiveness in our society right now, right? And it's not because you're supposed to be right or somebody else supposed to be right or wrong. It's because of different perspectives, belief systems, and lenses. So how can we shift that? We don't have to take on anybody else's beliefs. But in order to bring us together and connect again, we have to understand where the other people are coming from. So I challenged myself in the last election. How can I do that? And so I listened to our conservative station and I listened to our liberal station after the election because I wanted to understand where both groups were coming from. And it was fascinating to me. It's like, wow, based on that lens, it totally makes sense. And see, if we're just stuck in our backs and we don't even want to understand the other lens, the other belief system, we're just going to have divisiveness. We're not going to connect compassion and understanding. Okay, makes sense? Say yes. Okay, now I want to really blow your mind, have you do something that you thought was just impossible. It has to do with memory. Yes, memory. Okay, everybody, how many of you think that you could remember 20 words in just a few minutes? Where did my 20 words go? I even had this on here right before. I'm going to have to bring it up again. Okay. If I can't find it, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say it to you out loud. No, it's just not up here. Okay. So I'm going to say, how long do you think it would take you to memorize 20 random things, even more like 25 words, forwards and backwards in order? Are we talking minutes? Are we talking hours? Are we talking days? What are you thinking? Okay, so you can write this down if you want in quick shorthand if you want. I'll kind of go a little bit slower, or you can just listen to it auditorily, because either way, I'm going to help you do it. Okay, so the very first word, and these are relevant terms of words we've used in the last year, I would say. The first one is Zoom call. Okay, we're familiar with that. Next one is family and friends. Spending lots of time with family and friends, I'm sure. And then there's pizza. Oh yeah, lots of pizza. Hearts, you know, sending love with those hearts. Netflix binge. Anybody have one of those, a Netflix binge? Oh yeah. Nature walks. A magical dog. Wine. Takeout food. A nap. Oh, God, I love those naps. And superheroes. There are a few new superhero movies. And you, let's make this about you. And peers and bonus checks. Oh, that'd be nice. We want to visualize that, right? Restaurant, boss, positive people. Could use a lot more of that in our lives, right? Glasses, winning lottery ticket, and porpoise. Seems impossible, doesn't it? You're going to be able to memorize these in a few minutes. Okay, so I want you to notice how you're feeling right now. Are you feeling like, she's got to be kidding, and I'm not auditory, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this, forget it, it's not going to happen? Are you excited? Do you think you're going to be able to do it? What's going on with you emotionally? Because the emotional component of learning is, gosh, like 60% of it. The information is the information. People can get information in, but if you're like freaked out and stressed, you're not going to be able to remember it. It's like trying to remember somebody's name that you know in one context, and you run into them in the grocery store and you're like, oh, I can't remember them. Not because you don't know them. It's because you went into a state of anxiety. So I want everybody to shut their eyes with me for a moment. I want you to think back to a time when you felt really empowered. You felt really accomplished. You were really excited in your life. Okay. Maybe you were just really happy. Maybe you had done something really successful. I want you to go back into that feeling. Okay. Now notice how your body is reacting. I just want you to either say in your vision in your mind or out loud, I can do it, but like you mean it. I can do it. Okay, now open your eyes. Now, all you really have to do is watch me. That's it. If I ask you to do something, you've got to do it. See if this works. As crazy as some of the things may sound that I have you do, you got to do it. Okay, you ready? All right, let's go break through some belief barriers. All right, first one is a Zoom call. You're on a Zoom call now. Instead of me on the Zoom call up here, I want you to imagine all your family and friends in all these little boxes around. So you're looking at the Zoom call and you're seeing who? Say your family and friends. And I want you to visualize them in the Zoom call. And they're all eating pizza. You know how people in Zoom calls will eat right in front of the camera, and they got the pizza all over the place. And it's pizza. Now look down in your hands in the pizza. Look at a piece of pizza. And I want you to see, instead of pepperoni, there are hearts. Now look, you have to look. If you don't visualize, it's not going to work. So look down and see the hearts on the pizza. Now pick up some of the hearts off the pizza, and I want you to throw them at your TV screen with the Netflix binge. So think of your favorite Netflix binge that you had. And I want you to take the hearts and throw the hearts at the TV in your Netflix binge. Now, when you're watching this Netflix binge, either it's in the show itself or the series, or because you've been binging so long, you need to take a nature walk. So maybe there's a nature walk. Imagine your Netflix series, see it in your mind, and see the people in there taking a nature walk. Or if that's not appropriate, I've been binging way too long here. I get some nature and got to get some exercise. So you're going out in nature and you're walking, right? Okay. So on the nature walk, you meet this magic dog. How cool is that? So I want you to imagine for a moment, even if you have to shut your eyes through this when I ask you to imagine you walk up to this dog. The dog is spewing out wine. Pretty cool, huh? That is a magic dog. You are collecting the wine. You're going to drink the wine with what? Takeout food, of course, right? So you got the takeout food, you got the wine, you're drinking a lot, you're eating a lot, and now it's time for a nap, right? So shut your eyes, take your nap. I want you to imagine you're dreaming about a superhero, your favorite superhero. And that superhero, look at the face in your mind. The superhero is you. You are the superhero. And now you're going to go back to your peers at work or in your organization or in your self-employment, and you're going to see your peers. Your peers are all holding bonus checks. Can you see that? I want you to visualize that they got bonus checks. All your peers are holding those for you. You're going to take those bonus checks and you're going to celebrate them at a restaurant. So you go to a restaurant and you give the bonus checks to the restaurant people. That's how you get in. And when you look around the restaurant, you see in the restaurant, there's your boss. Now your boss might just be a real boss. And if you're an entrepreneur, and the boss might be a spouse or a previous boss, but you see that boss in a restaurant, surrounded by positive people with a big cross, a positive sign on their chest. They're all wearing glasses, these new lenses. So I see all those positive people with the glasses on, and across the room, they see held up, everybody say a winning lottery ticket. Say that out loud. Winning lottery ticket is in their hand. And that winning lottery ticket comes a porpoise and takes that winning lottery ticket away. So what's more valuable, right, than a porpoise? Okay. What's more valuable than living your purpose? That's the porpoise. Okay. All right. So are you with me now? Now let's go through the beginning. What was the very first thing in front of you? It was the Zoom call, right? Who was on the Zoom call? Your family and friends. What were they eating? Pizza. Look down at the pizza. What was on the pizza? Hearts, right? And where do we throw the hearts? At the Netflix binge. And we're watching the Netflix binge, and what are they doing? Or because we've been watching so many Netflix binge, what do we need to do? Nature walks. So we're going on the nature walks. You can even move your body a little bit. After that, who do we meet on the nature walks? But a magical dog. Oh yeah. Leigh Ann, you got it. And the magical dog is spewing out wine. And what are we eating with the wine? The takeout food, right? So imagine drinking that wine. There's your takeout food, your favorite takeout food. Now you got to take a nap. And you're dreaming of your superhero, right? And who's the superhero? It's you, the superhero. And superhero goes, you in the superhero, you go back to your peers, see yourself with your peers, see them around you, okay? And they're holding what? Bonus checks. Yes. And they're paying for what? Where are you now to celebrate? Where are you celebrating these bonus checks? In the restaurant, right? Who's in the restaurant? Your boss. Your boss is surrounded by positive people. And they're wearing what? Glasses, and they see you holding the, oh yeah, you're going to remember this one, the winning lottery ticket. And who comes up and eats it? A porpoise. Nothing more priceless than living your purpose, right? So you've got the winning lottery ticket, and the porpoise comes and takes it away. So how did you do? Did you get all 20? Did you get 15? I bet, I'm guaranteed you did better than you thought you could. And here's the thing, everybody. We're so conditioned to compete and challenge ourselves and think, oh, I didn't get all 20, everybody else did, or I only got 19, or I got 15. Who cares? The point is helping you do better than you thought you could. And that's a belief box we've got to get over, is that competition. You're only competing against yourself. When you can actualize your capability, that's what's most important. So I want to end with, you did something you didn't think possible. Even if you didn't get 20, you blew yourself away. And after we're done with the call, go check yourself on all these. And I'm sorry, somehow, text me or get a hold of me and I'll get you all the words again to quiz yourself, because I know that you did great. Now, everybody, and put your hands together and pulsate them. Close. Feel it. Feel what's in between you. You feel it? You feel all that incredible energy? Wow, this is going through a whole shattering of belief system, right? Let's pull your hands farther apart. More energy. Wow. You all have amazing energy. You all have something to give to the world. So when you go back after this 2 hours that you've had by all these incredible speakers, take that energy and that gift you have and give that powerfully back into the world. Thank you so much for having me. I'll be on the panel. I'm staying here, and much love to you all.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. That was absolutely fantastic. So great to have you here today. And now we're going to bring back all of our speakers on the panel. So you should be able to see everybody now live on our panel. And we're going to go through some questions from our audience. So the first one is for Leigh Ann. Leigh Ann, since most people say they aren't happy, or many people say they aren't happy in their job, are you suggesting that people quit their jobs to follow their dreams?
No, I get that a lot. So no, I'm not. What I'm saying is what we want to do is start realizing what our priorities are so we can start living into that. But a lot of the time we need to, once we have that joy and that happiness, we can bring that in, just like I was talking about the responsibilities. You can bring that into your job and all of a sudden look at the job in a renewed way, and you'll actually start enjoying it. And that may be just for the year until you decide that you're going to move on to something else. Or it may just be like, man, this wasn't as bad as I thought. I actually kind of like this. I like those people I work with. So no, it doesn't mean just quit your job. Just look at it with renewed eyes.
Great answer. The next one is for T. Falcon Napier. Does the precision decision process work in all settings?
Well, certainly, because decisions are made in all settings. So we like to encourage all of our students to take anything we teach them in a classroom back home and apply to their own personal life first. So how many different decisions is everybody making every single day? If they can just stop for a moment and ask themselves, what do I want to gain? What do I want to lose? What do I not want to gain? What do I not want to lose? You know, they're exercising this in their own life. Then again, they can take it to their friends and family members to help them make better decisions. They can take it to their local charity groups, whatever their social groups may be, and obviously take it into their organizations as well. So it plays out at all levels.
And the second part of that question for T is, how does Precision Decisions fit into ChangeWorks?
Well, ChangeWorks is our main program. So ChangeWorks is really just a program about creating personal and professional changes, and central to making changes most effectively in your life is making the decisions that lead to those proper changes. And so it is simply one of the many tools that fit into the entire ChangeWorks family of programs and products. So I think at this point we have well over 300 hours of training programs available built off of ChangeWorks.
Great, great. Patricia, this one's for you. When you were speaking, the sound cut out for a minute. You were talking, the slide said stuff is rubbish or something.
Yes,
The other no words you mentioned?
Well, stuff is rubbish and debris. For example, I was listening to one of the most eloquent executives, the international sales manager for one of my clients. They had just invested $40 million in this new technology. And I thought, he's one of the best speakers I've ever heard in a corporate environment. And then he said, our customers need our stuff. And it cost $40 million. From that, no, be specific. If it weren't a thing, what would it be? If you can't weigh it, it's not a ton. And certainly if it's not fruit or vegetables, it's not a bunch. I would add to that list, and I find these phrases come into all my clients, and I become very aware, and you do not improve what you're not aware of. So I tell people, I don't want to criticize you. However, my job is to let you know this and tell your friends and family members, help me. I want to become aware when I'm whatever it is. And I find an incredible amount of kinda. Are you going to kinda do it? Or are you going to do it? It's yes or no. And it is so prevalent. And I believe that it's been getting worse because we haven't been interacting with people as much in person. And the only way you improve formal presentations and important sales conversations is to improve your everyday speaking when it's informal, not planned, and you might perceive it as not as important. Why should your family have to put up with your sloppy language?
Great answer. Great. Kimberly, what, a lot of people have negative beliefs. What is the one negative belief that you see people struggle with most often?
Self-worth. I don't think people value themselves enough because, it has to start here. And, even in religions, we're taught to give to everybody else, love one another as yourself, right? But if you don't love yourself and you don't start here and find your own worthiness, how can you really be that light fully and give more to others? So I would say everybody really needs to work first just on themselves and loving themselves and being, noticing their thoughts. I mean, thoughts are so powerful. They become our emotions, and our emotions, physiological effects in our body. And then we respond out in the world the way that we're talking to ourselves. So that's pretty much it. Self-worth.
Very important. Back to you, Patricia, real quick on, tell us more about getting good client stories. How do you do that?
You look at your website, your marketing materials, you identify clients that might not be the 2 or 3 you always use. And the ideal is to leave them a voicemail. We hardly ever get somebody to pick up the phone, but this is intentional because you want them to think before they respond. So it's, hi, Michael, this is Patricia. I never get tired of telling the story of how successful the sales program was we did together. Would you mind, at your convenience, having a conversation and tell me at the beginning, what were your expectations? What were the results? Now, on reflection, as it's been 18 months since we did this, have the results continued? And if it's okay, I would like to use your example in my sales conversations and presentations for companies like yours. So anytime I'm going to, in email, send a link to my calendar, we'll just have a conversation. Thanks again. And I'm still talking about you. The idea is you want people to think and remember by the time they have the conversation with you. Now, say they picked up the phone, you'd say is, do you want to think about it, or we can do it now? With your permission, can I record the conversation? And I'll write up what you say and send back to you. And even if someone says, well, I don't have time to talk, I'll send it to you, say, don't worry about spell checking or proofing. Just stream of consciousness is fine. How have been did I exceed the expectations? And then you rewrite it. And what I would say for everybody who's got any type of recommendation, don't just put it on your website as it is, because people say, oh, I loved your program, but that's no good for us, say, as speakers on our websites. We loved your program on sales presentations. So you need to add more specificity to the quotes.
Is it ever good to write, and this is my question, is it ever good to like write a quote for the client and say, would you be willing to say this? Is there a way?
Well, yes, but what I would say is, after my program, you were very enthusiastic. I remember you said this, 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 this. Is this okay if I put on my website? And what I usually say is, if people send me an email, is it okay if I use your words to shamelessly promote myself?
I like it. I like it. Okay, this one is for Leigh Ann. I love your concept of hugs. They've been so missed over the pandemic. Mm-hmm. How else can I incorporate virtual hugs with others?
Well, I actually do it every day on my Instagram. I have, well, not every day that I can't commit to it. So I do it a lot, that I go on and I do the hug, and I'll give a little bit of a something to think about. And what I have found is that people are doing that. They're sending it, like, not mine, they're sending their own through Messenger or through Instagram or wherever they are, or through emails. Emails for me in our business, like we are a kitchen designer too. All of our emails are make it a happy and healthy day, hugs, Leigh Ann T. Always, we're hugs everywhere. So telling people that you love them and giving them your hugs, it will feel weird if you're not used to it, but everybody needs it. And even if they say, oh, actually, I shouldn't even say that, because I've never had anybody say that it's not professional. I was the only one that questioned, is this professional? So sending it that way, I think, is huge. And recording yourself and giving yourself a hug, and then doing exactly what we did in the program and sending that to people just to tell them that you're thinking of them would be pretty amazing.
Great. Good idea. So for T. Falcon Napier, with the pandemic winding down and our world getting back to normal, what is your best advice for everyone who's trying to start over and they took big steps backward in business? What's your advice to them right now to kind of get jump started again?
Well, I think they have to realize that there is a new normal, and as disruptive as the pandemic has been, these sorts of things always create whole new opportunities. but they're unlikely to see those opportunities if they continue to hold the belief that life as they knew it is gone forever and it'll never be back to that. So they have to be willing to reinvent themselves, to kind of pay attention to tension, which is one of the principal things we teach, and really notice, what does the world need now more than anything else? And how can I either repurpose what I've already done to better address, I love it, to better address that, or what do I need to create for that to happen as well? And everyone would benefit from having a cat.
It's kind of like recreating your,
webinar.
I was going to say, it's kind of like recreating your talk when your screen doesn't come up.
Yeah.
Snapper is like the ultimate. He's like, he thinks he's a dog, so he likes to be in everyone's.
Wow, he's big.
He's actually not as big as he looks, but he's a good guy.
An Aussie cat.
Beautiful. Yeah. Go back to what you're doing, Jay. All right. Next question is for, let's see, we got one for Kimberly here. Perspective change is so powerful. How can I help others see differently? How can I help others see differently too? How can I help them get that perspective change?
Well, I think first modeling it, and when people see, like, especially, with all the controversy and divisiveness we have right now, when somebody and they come at you and they tell you their opinions and their belief and boom, 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 boom. And you say, I really validate what you're saying. I understand that. And, this is why people are thinking the other way. How could somebody vote for that person? Or how could somebody do this or not wear a mask or whatever? Well, let me just tell you, I thought the same thing. What's really cool is when you find out where they're coming from, and then you share that with them, and then ask them, maybe, how did that make you feel looking from that different perspective? When you do that for them and you do it, they go, wow, I never even thought of it that way. And it helps diffuse it, really coming from the high ground of a place of love vibration always wins, always.
Great answer. Patricia, someone wants to know, how can I get my new sales team members up to speed fast?
Well, of course, I could help them, but let's just say you're not going to an expert. What I have found when I've been in group meetings with my clients, that very often the most seasoned or the best sales professional, the newer people have never heard them deliver a presentation because, as I mentioned in my beginning slide, companies so concerned. You have the product knowledge, you understand the technology, how are you going to manage the systems, that the very least, if you took the best salesperson and modeled what they have evolved and developed and learned from their years of experience. And for example, with new salespeople, when I say you got to tell happy customer stories, oh, well, I'm so new, I don't have any customers yet. Well, you have company stories. So you tell the story. So 12 years ago, Michael called our office and said, help. You're not saying you made the sale, but helping people understand these are case histories that belong to anybody until you have your own. That would be a good start. Now, one of my best clients called and said, help, we are a technology company that's fast growing and we only hire people who have been in technical sales for 10 years. We naturally assumed they would be able to tell our company story until we had all the salespeople present to our executives, and they were horrified. And I have been charged to scour the globe to find the best sales presentation skills company. And lucky for us, you're 34 miles from headquarters. But the point is, you cannot assume that here's the brochure, watch some of our demo videos, go out and sell it. And it has nothing to do with being well educated or understanding technology. You cannot expect professionals who have never focused on presentation skills because they spent all their career understanding technology to be superb. And I'm sure all our speakers will agree. Training and coaching is not something you did. It is something you do. It's part of your DNA to stay fresh. And even with the seasoned professionals, giving them a new approach, a new way to tell their stories, a new opening, helps them fall in love with their presentations again.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, I hear so many stories about people who they started in sales, they went gangbusters, they made so much money, and then after a while, they're wondering, why are my sales not as good as they were before? And it's just they stopped growing, they stopped improving, they stopped getting better, and that's the curse for anybody who you got to be a lifelong learner, which is what, of course, the Yes Network is all about, and everyone who's watching this is obviously committed to that, or you wouldn't be spending this beautiful day watching this or listening to this seminar right now. So yeah, we're grateful to have all of you. Hey, last reminder, if you have any other questions you want answered, we're going to be wrapping up in about 5 minutes, so submit them in the chat right now. I'm going to kind of ask this next question of everybody, and we can kind of go round table with a quick answer to what is the best advice you have for everyone going back into the second half of 2021? General question. T?
Well, I think probably the best thing that we can say, considering all things that are happening in the world right now, is that they need to focus on the positive. It's easy to find things to feel negative about, to be upset about, to argue about, to whatever, but none of that really ends up improving anybody's quality of life in the moment or in the foreseeable future. And so I think it really is about going out there, finding the positive things, telling the positive stories, sharing the positive experiences, and celebrating all the stuff that we have that is celebratable. Instead of sacrificing that even further.
Agreed, 100%. Leigh Ann, would you like to answer that? The best advice you have for people going back into the second half of 2021?
100%. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others. We're all going through it, and I know that's like a thing. We're all in this together, but we are, and you don't know who's lost who, what they've lost, what they're going through. So be kind to yourself. If you're not handling it the way you wanted it to, like you wanted to, you have a chance to choose differently now, but be kind to yourself and be kind to others. I think that'll make everything a world of difference.
Great. Kimberly.
Well, I agree completely with what they said. That's foremost. And I think being grateful for what you have. And I want to give you an example. As speakers, it's been a little bit difficult, in this time. So my son started a mobile auto detailing business, and I've been helping him with it and scheduling. And he's like a month booked out. It's so incredibly successful. I can't even tell you. So he's just, I can't believe all the support and, all the love he's getting back. So I said, well, let's tell them. So we did a video of my young sons, saying, thank you for changing my life. This has been incredible. You've been so supportive. And then he did his little, guy thing at the end, whatever. And I think, people can resonate with the story, and they can resonate with someone being appreciative and grateful. And then I wrote it all up about, thank you for mentoring him when you came out to the car, for the grandmas, making sure he had stuff to eat, and all the love and encouragement he got from the likes, and it's just kicking off like crazy. I thanked him for everything in the script. Because of that, it went boomed again. Now we're like 5 weeks booked out. It's crazy. And I think when you're in that state of gratitude in relationships, and you're not trying to push or sell your beliefs or whatever, and you are positive, and you come from a place of life is a blessing for what we do have, wow, it's just amazing. More blessings come into you.
I love it. Patricia.
Virtual meetings are not going to go away. And good job we learned how to handle them well, because even in person, many companies realize the importance of their daily, weekly, monthly communications with each other. And two, all learning requires repetition and reinforcement.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll leave you with mine, and that is the power of being present and in the moment. I see so many people living their lives not realizing that they're living their lives. They're running around all over the place. And when you stop for a minute and say, here I am on the planet Earth. Look, I'm here in my home. I'm in this webinar right now with these amazing, wonderful speakers. We have this fabulous audience of people tapping in and learning and improving their lives. Here's where I am right now in the present moment. That's a very important thing that a lot of people are missing. We need to be more conscious of the present moment, be where we are when we're there, not thinking about what's going on tonight or what happened yesterday. When you live in the future or the past, you're not in your life, you're outside of it. And I want to see more people live in their life in the second half of 2021. One of the greatest things for me to do more of that has been meditation. So I meditate regularly. It doesn't have to be a big thing. You can meditate for a minute. Sometimes I'll literally just sit for a minute. I'll close my eyes. I'll reach out to my God. Everyone's got their own form of God or whatever you believe in. Go out to that place and that entity and just pray and just be present. Here I am. Thank you for this. And a lot of times I just try to quiet my mind and not think of anything. That's really a great form of meditation. There's so many different forms of meditation, but that's the one I like, to just clear my mind completely and try not to think of anything at all. And I'll stay in that place as long as I can. Sure, if I hear noises, I'm aware of it. I'm just consciously aware of the noises that might pass through my space, but I'm consciously aware that I'm not letting my mind race onto what's for dinner. And it'll happen. I'll be doing that and I'll think, well, what's for dinner tonight? I'll say, wait a minute, I'm meditating. Erase and go back to where I was, that space of not thinking about anything. And the more you do it, the more you practice it, the more centered you get, the more relaxed you get. And I noticed after doing this for now years, crazy things go on around me that most people are frazzled by, and I'm just so chill and relaxed and nothing really bothers me. And there's a wonderful book that I'll highly recommend to everyone that's kind of in this realm. It's called The Surrender Experiment. Off the top of my head, I forgot the author right now, but it's a wonderful book, The Surrender Experiment. All I can tell you is take the ride. It is a wild ride. I love the audio version of that book. It is absolutely fabulous. But the gist of it is about surrendering to what's happening, no matter what it is. Just surrender and let it go. And a lot of the times what you perceive as a bad thing turns out to be an amazing thing. What you think is going to be amazing maybe isn't going to be amazing. So what you want to do is just accept what comes at you, whatever God or whatever your power is puts in your pathway. You accept it, you peacefully go through it with it. And in my experience, when you do that, amazing outcomes happen, magical outcomes happen, versus the person trying to force everything to happen the way they want it to happen. We need to just be more relaxed and let things kind of flow into our lives. And when you do that, you'll have some incredible things happen, as you'll be blown away by the stories in the experiment, the surrender experiment, which is how I'm living my life right now. And it truly is happening for me as well, these amazing, amazing things. So
beautiful.
Final last words, quote, anything you want to say to people before we wrap up? We got about a minute left. One last phrase, one last sentence. Let's hear one last thing to leave people with as we part ways. We will start with Patricia. We'll go around the other way. So Patricia?
The end of any sales presentation, your last words linger. Mine would be, I hope you remember me, Fripp. However, much more important than remembering me, remember what Fripp stands for. Frequently reinforce ideas that are productive and profitable.
Love it. Love it. Kimberly?
I think it's it's not about the storm. It's about learning to dance in the rain.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Leigh Ann?
It clearly is not my quote, but be the love you want to see in the world.
Mm-hmm.
T. Falcon Napier.
For me, it's the most powerful two-letter words, the 10 most powerful two-letter words. If it is to be, it's up to me. We need to stop waiting for everybody else to do what we want done the way we want it done. If it is to be, it is up to me.
Love it, love it. And mine is, whenever something bad happens or something you perceive as bad, always say to yourself, something better is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are so grateful that you've joined us for this seminar, this webinar. You speakers, I want to thank you so much. I'm so grateful. You were all amazing, amazing, amazing. The playback will be available on YouTube. Thank you again so much. And stay tuned for the next Yes Network event webinar coming up in July. Amazing. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, you guys, the meeting on YouTube is over.